Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome to data analysis class for this section. So this is just a preambles in discussing some of the things as an introductive class towards what we'll be dealing with under the data analysis section. And before I start, let me just quickly have to brief on some of the things that's being required. This one will be a short moment together. In our subsequent class, we'll be going in details into other parts that it entails. However, for the purpose of this class, we'll be using three relative softwares, which is the Excel, Microsoft Excel, the SPSS, and the Envivo for the qualitative data analysis. However, if time permits us, we'll be visiting other softwares like that of our studio as time goes on. So once again, you are welcome to data analysis class. And don't forget, data analysis is something that cut across every organization. It's not limited to only academic environment. Companies are also working on data that they gathered in the past to justify and make decisions for their business in subsequent years to come. Not to be specific of banks on its own gather statistics on customer based on their activities up and down, the approach that they use in withdrawing their money, the fastest access they use like mobile app and the likes. So this statistics is used to inform a decision towards years to come of the bank. So in that regard, data analysis is working with existing data, analyzing the data and using that information that you get from the data to inform decision that we'll be making on. So without wasting much of our time, let's quickly dive into the process that it entails in data analysis. For data analysis, the first process that it takes is identification. Identification is that what is the problem that you want to address, what are the variables that you'll be needing for that problem. Take for example, I may be a lecturer in our institution and I want to look into factors of or I want to check into impact of technology on performance of students. For example, now there have been a lot of technology put in place in tertiary institution that was not in place then. For example, students can now come to the class with the iPads, with laptop, just to get information from the class. Digital projector, digital screen are now being used. Projector are being used in some of the classes. All these technology tools together, lecturer can want to peruse the impact of it on performance of students. How fast are they learning with these technology tools? So based on data gathered, it might be recent data or existing data, a conclusion can be obtained from that angle for them to reinforce what will be required. However, without not wasting our time, this data is now in multiple ways. You can precept the data in different ways. You can gather the data from multiple ways. But let me just quickly break down some of the little ones that we can quickly know for now, because most of our thought line on the data analysis for this section will be on research, academic research for now, on academic research. So the fastest classification of the data is on qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative means data that you are gathering in terms of word. People say it like interview. When you interview people, people talk blah blah blah, all those stuff. That is what we refer as qualitative. While quantitative is the data you gather from something that deal with figure, like that questionnaire that you gather is secondary data from online database. So knowing that one, you can gather data from now multiple options. Probably you are looking into secondary data from database, like I said. You might be gathering data through primary data like the one that you gather through interview or questionnaire, and some through observation. Probably you are doing an experiment, a scientific experiment or any other related experiment that you have to observe uh, uh, your substrate, or your, let me say, your sample size or your sample in that respect. So you can gather data based on time moments in that case. So just to quickly recap of some of the how you now work on the data and how you get some data. So let's look, for example, for the secondary data. because we are not doing a primary research now. We'll look into some of these things details later, what it entails and the likes. For primary data, for example, you can source that one from different database. So don't forget the fact that I said the first approach is identification of your data, identification, which you are identifying the problem and you're identifying the data variable that you'll be using. The next one is now sourcing for your data when you compile all your data that you use. It depends on the approach that you are using, but for the one that will be explaining now, we are looking into secondary data, so we'll be sourcing it from the World Bank data. And after you've gathered that one, the next one you have to do is to clean the data. Clean the data means that for the empty cells that is much within your data, you have to filter them out. All the dots of information that may not make your analysis to go promptly, you might clean all those one off. And some of the data you have to transpose them, just to make your data ready for analysis. And after you've achieved that one, the next thing is now to look into analyzing your data. And from that analysis, after analyzing your data, you tend to come up with graphical illustration that shows the trend, the pattern, and the end result of your data that you can now interpret, which is the last phase of the data analysis, which you interpret the result to pre-inform or make a decision that one can now deduct from the research that you just did. So for example, let's assume we are working on a research to check impact of let me just say the word population on the GDP value of a country. For example, let's take Ghanaian for example. So let me go to the database over here. Network. Okay, let me use the word. I'll be explaining this in details later, but let's just restrict it to now. I'll find a time to break all this thing down in details. This is just like an introductory section to. Okay, this is still loading. So like this is a database of the World Bank, and from this you can see a lot of options that you deal with, at least 4 options that you have to deal with, which is the database. The database that we are considering here is the World Bank indicator, and for the country, out of 266 countries that was specified here, I said we want to relate with Ghana. So I can search that one now. This is Ghana. I have to select that. You can see I selected the one country here, and from that I can move to the series. For the series, for the impact of population on the GDP per capita value of that country, we have to first search for population, but we are looking for population total in this case. You can see different population that we have over here, but we are actually looking for the total population. Okay, this is, and we are also looking for the GDP per capita. So let's be using this GDP per capita. So with that, you can see that I've selected 2 series out of this. So for the time being, I can consider, let's say, the last 20 years. That's 2003 to 2022. So I can apply that change over here, and I can go under this download option to download it at Excel. So let me go and bring that one out under my. So now we've identified by saying our problem is we want to check impact of population growth, the population on the I want to check the impact of population growth even on what's it called, on GDP per capita value. And we have identified the key variable that we are using, which is the population growth and the GDP per capita. So even in that regard, based on the fact there's a variable called population growth that we can get under this series, let's go for population growth instead of population total. So okay, this is population growth annual, so we can use this instead. And let me re-download that. So we've identified the key variables, which is the population growth and the GDP per capita. So with that now, the next thing we have to do is to survival source for our data is to clean the data. So let me open that data under my download section. I think it's this. So this is the data. The first thing I have to do is, you can see from here that we have the data from 2023, but it's coming with another accomplishment. So I have to clean all this one off so that my data will be. So in that regards, I can come over to the new worksheet and press year. And under the year, I can start 2003, 2004, but I don't need to type all. So far I've given a consistent gap within the two. I can click on this draw the edges of the two cell and drag it down till I get to 2022. So for my data on the other sheet, I can come to it and highlight or and transpose it. But if don't take note of something, this says C and D is not starting from the 2023, so I have to put two space above where I want to transpose the data. So I can press Ctrl C to copy that and go to my cell. This two space above it, so I can use this cell and now right click, go to special space and come to transpose. So it will make the data vertical. So in this case, I can clean all this and relate with this. Bring this data, variable down. So these are population growth in cell population total in cell C, and we have our GDP in cell D, and we have our population growth in cell E. So let me use the GDP per capita and our population growth, so we can highlight this and select this. First, let's check the data in form of a graphical representation. So under my insert, don't worry, I will explain the Excel sheet later on. The purpose of the class now is for us to just see how some of this work. I think we have 2022 here that's missing. So this is the graphical representation. You can see that the okay, this is coming with the year. We don't want the year inside this. We can change the data over here and probably okay, we want this and this for that. Y for the X, want this. Obviously the population growth is not surfacing because of the sorry, we're supposed to make them differently. Let's loop, I'll use them differently. So let's go for this and the GDP separately. So this is our GDP per capita. You can see it's running, despite the fact that it's varying, it's still running higher. Well, let's check for the population growth. For the population growth, this is our year. This is our population growth. You can see that the population growth is decreasing over the year, even, and the decrease in population growth is causing increase in GDP per capita. I believe, though we'll talk more under the interpretation of the results, but this is just the increase in the GDP over here per the capita is as a result of drop in the population that is occurring in that region. And I don't need to explain much about it, but this is just first the representation of it all. But let's check the descriptive analysis of this. In doing the analysis, there's a function that was put on Eze that we can use to relate with this, though some of us may not see it on our system for now, but I'll show us when we are dealing with how to use Eze to show us how that one can be uh, seen on our system. So you can click that analysis and go under the descriptive. Let's start with the descriptive statistics and press OK. So it's asking us for input range. The input range of what we want to deal with is all these parameters. And with that one, don't forget our first row here is the label. So that's why we say label in the first row. And we can click. Okay, here this is we have the summary of the data, and we have confidence level for the mean. Create it in a new worksheet. Tag it as descriptive analysis. So I can press OK. I'll see my results over here. So for the year parameters, for the population parameters, population total, for the GDP per capita, and for the population growth, these are the mean, standard error, median, mode, and the least minimum. So that is the descriptive analysis. So thank you very much. In our subsequent time, we'll continue from here. Let's just break it there. So we'll go in details into all of what it entails, but that is just a summary of what that analysis entails. You identifying the problem and the key variables that you need, sourcing for your data and compiling your data, cleaning your data, and after cleaning your data, analyzing your data. After analyzing your data, presenting and interpreting the data, and after that one is for you to inform a decision from it. Thank you very much. See you in next class.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second class on the data analysis. Uh, so for today, let me quickly do a recap of what we did last class before we dive into what we have for today. Last class, we were able to establish that data analysis is not only limited to research and it cuts across every organization. We make an illustration of banks. We said banks use the data of customer based on how you withdraw your money, how you save your money, how you patronize the bank, and they use those data to make informed decision uh, in order to be able to satisfy customer. Likewise, it cut across other organizations. So we just said that data analysis is you taking data that are available in terms of trend data, historical data, or current data for you to now analyze to make a decision for the future. And we said the data can be in varieties of ways, but the two major classification of data is secondary data, primary data and secondary data. I say primary data is the data that you are getting from the main source. Probably you are interviewing somebody or you are using questionnaire to gather the data. While the secondary data is already established data that is already in a reserve or in an archive that you can go and take the data out of it. While we also talk that way, your data can be qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative is verbal word, while the quantitative is numerical or statistic data. We also talk about method by which we gather data. We say you can gather it depending on what you want, using questionnaire, using interview, using observation. Probably you're observing a something inside laboratory. You can gather it through database, online database and the likes. And we said process that it takes in data analysis is number one, identification. What is the problem that you want to deal with? What is the variable, key variable that you'll be considering in what you are dealing with? And we also talk of data gathering. That is how you compile all your data, probably from the primary source or secondary source, depending on what you want. And after that one is data cleaning. You clean to remove unwanted or something that looks abnormal that will not make your analysis to go on well. You filter them out from your results. And we said after that one you analyze. In analysis, we said your analysis can cut through a lot of sphere, but the one of the crucial one that major people deal with is using descriptive analysis, using inferential analysis like regression, correlation analysis. We have a lot of them like ANOVA. We have like that. And at the long run, we said after the analysis, you interpret the results for you to make a decision for the future. So in that prospect, I said we'll be using some of the software that will be related with, which is the Excel, SPSS, Envivo software for the qualitative analysis, and we'll also be looking into, if time permits, that is R Studio on the advanced level. So in respect to that one, today we'll be diving into Excel, and we'll be checking some of the key explanation that we can relate with on Excel. So I believe your Excel is already open. Okay, I believe you can all see my screen. Yeah, so if you can see the screen, though I'm using Mac, but I believe all this should be similar on every system, but it just with a slight difference on Windows. For some of the terms that we've seen on it. However, let's quickly look at this together. Under the Home tab, most of the things that you'll be relating with are the where the fonts are. I think that is, they call it fonts under your own category. So we have the alignment section over here. Most often you'll be dealing with this merge option, that we have a merge center or merge and the likes. When we get there, you know. But you shall know this font, whatever. I don't need to be explaining that one. You've already encountered it on Word and the likes. And we also have this option merge is just to bring two cells or multiple cells together. By clicking that one, this merge and center means that if I should put a text, for example, here, I'm putting Amenhub. If I select multiple cells together and I merge and center, it should merge the four cells together and put my text in the center. So that's what that one is, right? Merge across, depending on what I can merge the cell that I merge right now back. That is that one about that one. Another thing is when you are dealing with your elements inside your variable that you are dealing with, it can come in any form, in format of a number, a currency, and the like. So if your data does not come in the format of number, probably it's coming in form of alphabetical, which you can now analyze. You can use these parameters to convert it into what you want. But more option is under this section. When you click more option, you can identify with what you want to do in form of number, currency, account, date, and you can set for your number. You can set how many decimal points that you are dealing with, because some of the school research, some of the analysis that you'll be doing, they might say you should not work more than 3 decimal places. So I can account this one probably to 3 decimal places. That's what I want. Or you can, if they say 2 decimal places, you can account. If you don't need decimal places, you want to round it up, it will automatically round it up self up when you've already chosen this. And you can do the alignment of how your text is on your Excel, how your data that you enter is on Excel, blah blah blah. You can, but all this one you don't need them most often. But what you are relating with is under this number. It's just for you to set what your variable is like. Probably is a number, is a currency that you are dealing with. So knowing that one, okay. So on the other end, another thing that you will probably be needing is under this sorting. Sorting means that you are arranging your data based on scale of preference in terms of probably starting from A to Z or from Z to A, depending on ascending or descending order. Another thing is you work on hierarchy. You work on hierarchy. So under this section, I don't know what is calling it in your own end. But what we use this one is that it has some of the calculation that you may deal with, but most often I really come to this end to come and pick them, like sum, average, maximum, minimum, or more function that you can relate with. All these functions that you can relate with on your data, because some of the crucial one that you need, you can quickly type it yourself. Because with getting all this function, immediately you click on your data set and you press equals to inside one of your cell, and you press equals to. For example, now I want to do sum of some number, I can press sum. It will bring some of this formula for me in line with what I want, so I can select from it. But there's one number that I imported I want to do the sum of. When I explain this one finish, that's what we'll be doing next from that angle. So you can search for probably one of the data. For example, now let's assume I have multiple data on this page, and probably I'm looking for ID number of somebody. For me to get one data, I can quickly search for the ID number. For example, let me bring some data in. Let me open some data. Let's open for the download. Let's open this. Let me look for one that is more saturated. Let's use this. So this one is not that much, but let's try to use this data. So with this now, I can search, find, let me search for Ghana. So this one is not having much. You can see that it's working within the Ghana alone, searching. But let me look for data that is that heavy, that it might not be visible to quickly see the data set from. Okay, let's look at this data for example. Let's look at this data set. Though this data has not been clean, that will make it when I'm coming back. This what we talk on under cleaning is all these empty what is that is void over here. You can see those dots. All those dots that you are seeing, if you should analyze this data, it will return error to you. It can't be because it's having non-numerical variable inside it. So all these slash dot that you put in there. But let's take this data. This is a World Bank data that is containing countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So, and in sub-Saharan Africa, we know that Ghana is there. But immediately I open this Excel sheet, I'm not seeing Ghana on top. I can come here, depending on the country that I want to search for under sub-Saharan region. If I should type the same Ghana, it will bring me to where the Ghana is. You can see it from here. So that is the same. Yes. Besides that sort and filter, and you also use it to replace data on your sheet. For example, now let's assume I enter. Let me just say, for example, under the data we have something like. I'm seeing there are some sections that I have multiple places where I enter country, and I want to replace that country by the word region. So I can quickly use, instead of this find, I can use find and replace. So by using the replace, whenever it find the word, for example now where I'm using Ghana here, if everywhere you find Ghana, I can now replace. Let me say I'm replacing it with and let me use another country. Let me just use the word Nigeria. So far as every of the Ghana I want to replace, I can click on replace all. But if it's just only one place that I just notice Ghana now that I want to replace, for example, let's replace all. You can see that every of the Ghana here has turned to Nigeria. So that is what is, and it's telling me that we have 48 being replaced. So you can quickly replace every probably word or number that looks similar on your Excel sheet by using this option. I believe we understood what I just did on that.
So I made this thing fit so I can see.
I actually want to use this edge for illustration when I'm editing the video. But can we see it like this now? Okay, so let's quickly dive into insert section. Under insert section, there's a lot that you can deal with over here. For example, you can insert picture, you can insert table, pivot table, you can insert shapes, especially when you are drawing something like systematic flow of chart, how your process is like. You can add all the shape and the likes. You can have the 3D model. You can add the art. Probably you are doing illustration like the one that you see under Word document, just to show systematic flow of either content that you are bringing in. And you can under this art, is it how we see it on window?
No.
Eh?
No. Some of our listeners.
Okay, let me relate with that of window also. It's not different now. Maybe this is it. Pivot table, and we have ads in and the likes. We have graphs, which is recommended. Okay, under this recommended chart, means that when you select some data, they have some recommended option of how your chart will look like for you. But you can pick your chart from this as well. Either you are working with bar charts. We all know this from secondary school, right? Bar chart is something like this, and you can have single column chart, or you have multiple bar charts depending on what you single bar chart or multiple bar chart, or you have what
Chart is not coming up.
because there's no any data you are selecting there, so that's why the recommendation data is not bringing data. So you can check from other data. We also have line charts depending on what you are dealing. We have pie charts depending on data that you play. So let me quickly explain something on this chart of a thing. Data that requires, probably you are dealing with small quantity of data and you are showing percentage of them. For example, let me go back to the previous example. Let me say, for example, we have name of some students. We have Ade, we have George, we have Bush, we have Goat, we have the name of students. We have what again? We have Stick. We have let's assume these are some set of students that we have, and probably they have the mathematics score. I'm just saying, for example, the mathematics score probably we have 70, we have 50, we have 60, we have 76, we have 82. So these are score. Like this data now, I can represent this one with pie chart because it's not that voluminous, and yeah, it's just for me to show a variation between the three. So by just selecting these three, by these 5 data, I can go under recommendation. It will represent. I know it will bring recommendation of pie chart, which because it's just a small quantity of data that we can relate with. So by even selecting pie chart on my own, I can select what the data should look like. If I select this one will give the, I think I don't like this. for it because it's giving additional much information. But with this pie chart, the first one, you can calibrate all of them. I think we can see that one from the chart here, which is telling that the blue is for George, orange is for Bush, and the like that. So you can also show your percentage over here by going to, can we all create this on our system? Let's create this bar charts on our system and let's add additional features on it. No, that one is on different scale. So immediately you click on the any of the chart that you just create, you'll be seeing another option coming with for you on chart design or format. Chart design or format. That's where you can add more features to your chart. For example, this chart now, okay, do we see somewhere we see add element? For window, you might not need to be seeing add element, but you can also right click. For windows, you might right click on the chart, or you come to the edges of the chart here. I think something like that is on the window. Okay, wait, let me see your own system.
Okay.
So on this edge, you are seeing something like plus like this, plus at the edge of it here. So you can use it. That is the addition of the chart. So that is what we refer to addition element. So when you click that one, you should be seeing something like chart title, chart label.
Chart title, data label.
Yeah. So all those one you can use it to add multiple. You can use it to add multiple structure on your chart. For example, for this chart now, we might label all the element that is within it. This one does not need axis. That's why anything is not showing like horizontal axis and vertical axis. But we can also add label like this. Probably we want the label inside it. Something like this. It's showing the number that it entails. You can add other stuff within it, like all these legends that you have, like the George Bush. You can position either you want it to the left like this, or you can position it to whether you want it by the right, depending on what you want. So that is what you can do under that element. Another thing that you can do is you can change the color from here on preset of what you want, or you click this drop down and see some of the preset that they've already set down, how it can look like, to select what you want. If I'm selecting this, something like this. Another case that may happen in this is that some of the time you might find yourself that you chose the wrong data set for the graph that you plotted. In that case, you might not need to start from the scratch, probably by deleting the data set, but you can quickly go by under the section of select data. Do we see that over there? So when you click on select data, it will bring you that. Immediately you select the chart and you go under the chart design.
Chart design.
Yeah, you should be seeing something like select data. Yes. So when you click on select data, it will bring you two options, which is the chart data and horizontal category. So for here, the chart data is on, you are selecting it from, because this one is together, so we can select from this the whole data set that we want over here. And some of the time when you are dealing with charts, probably that you are forming in form of a bar chart that have the horizontal, probably you are doing a trend of one information over there. Okay, for example, trend of population over the last 20 years. You know that your year will be your horizontal on your data, while the population will be your vertical. So in that case now, for over here, you'll be selecting only your population data, the line that represents your population data, while on the horizontal here, you'll be selecting the year. Let's try to look that one out. I think we have a data that looks like that here. Sorry. We have a data that looks like that here. Let me just bring this data set and transpose it. Okay, let me transpose that data here. I think I explained this transpose yesterday. I mean, it's not yesterday, the last day. So, for example, let's say this is the GDP per capita for year. We have it as 2003, 2004, and I said with that we can okay. So for this, for example, now we said okay, let's make the year to run down, and probably let's plot a graph with this, the GDP over the year. Insert recommend. Let me just go for this recommended data set. So what I was now trying to explain with that is, for example, now let's assume I want to change the data set, or probably I selected the wrong one. You can see that the year is having the horizontal over here, while here is the GDP per capita. I can come to the chart design and go for data, select data. I already know that on my vertical, whatever is on my vertical is what is here. So I can come over here, select what is over there, and go to my horizontal, which is this.
So can you come
Okay. What I was saying is, for example, now I plotted my graph with this data set I have here, which is GDP per capita, GDP growth, and year. So I press insert, recommended option. Probably this is the chart I want to use. I select this. And over here in the chart, you can see the year coming out here, which is the x-axis that I predicted, and my y-axis, which is the population, and GDP per capita and GDP growth that we have over here. And I'll say in some cases, your data may return with, instead of this year, you're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is not reflecting this your year. Based on the fact that probably is acknowledging your year as part of the parameters that you ought to put here. It's because this thing is not having bulky one. You can see that it's giving different color. This is purple and this is blue. So meaning that way it's categorizing this as Y and this one as X. In most cases, it's always good that you put whatever will be in your X as a standalone in front, because the way to relate with your data is XY. It may not be counting the Y as Y1, Y2, Y3, Y4, depending on how many Ys that you now have here. So in that regard, for example, now if this data is not now reflecting as this, I said you can modify that one under your select data. Under your select data, for the chart data, you can see from here that we have A5 running to C25. Meaning that this from here A5 running to C25. So if you think that the data set that was selected here was wrong for the chart data, you can click on this edge to reselect what your data is, which is A5 to C25 that we have here. To identify which one is serving as the horizontal among them, which your x-axis, you come to the horizontal category, which is here, and you select this. But because the system has identified that one itself before, so definitely you are causing a commotion for it now. So in the sense of that one, for the chart data, so far with chart data that I selected before, the year is the x-axis, while the GDP per capita and growth is the y-axis. But now, so far I'm reselecting the horizontal and I'm identifying that one for them. So under the chart data, I'll only be selecting the other one that I want to be y. While under the horizontal, Horizontal, I will be selecting reference is not valid. Reference must be open worksheet. Problem. Okay. Is the main data that we want to select. Okay. Something is wrong. What do we get wrong? Reference is not valid. Reference must be to an open worksheet. Let's close this and come again. Okay. So with this now we can select the whole entire data set. And with this before we select the horizontal, let's first click OK and see what the reflection is. You can see that something is changing here. It's identifying the year as also part of the chart because we selected all this together. So in that case now, let's go and separate what we want. For this top one, let's say we want the main data set to be this, and we want our x-axis to only be here, and we'll press OK. So you can see that it has brought back the year while we have this one this. So in circumstance of the previous one that we saw, that is when I said we can now come under data set and select data to change which one is going for the horizontal and which one is going for other data. Do we get the explanation from that angle? Do we get the explanation from that? What is the thing that you are not getting? So with that, we can progress. You can also change the chart type even if you have designed it with one chart before. But know that when you must be selecting a relative data, a relative chart, so that you will not be losing part of some of the information on your chart. And for each chart, from window you see a plus icon here that you can select from option. But from here you can, if you are working with a line chart or a bar chart or line chart like this, you can label, because that is one thing about your data presentation. You must put appropriate labeling for people to be able to understand whatever you are presenting to them on your data. So for this, I can go on add chart and add axis label, horizontal axis label and vertical, so that I'll be able to put over here GDP, and I'll be able to put over here years. Are we clear? Okay, if that be the case, let's proceed to other thing. So another place that you need over here, if you like, page layout. You know that one on Windows, Microsoft Word. I don't need to be explaining all this one. It's just how you format what your printout will look like and your orientation. Another thing is formula. We have a lot of formula that you can relate with over here, depending on finance, logical, dates, mathematics, whatever. But don't forget, we already seen this under your home section where we see this auto sum. Some of the formula is hidden there. You can click more function for you to see most of these data sets.
I think under
So-
Windows is under
Still that formula.
still that formula.
Yeah.
We have to calculate now.
So you can have it as numerous as you thought of. It's not everything that you need, but you need some along the line. So under that formula, you can see a lot of categories that was stipulated over here. So let's quickly use some of this stuff. Under sum, you can see something like sum, average, count number, maximum, and minimum. So let's just use this at random. Just create a random 10 names on a column. Create 5 subjects and just give them random scores. What I mean by this is Jide, Wale, Fiolu, Badmus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So create subjects like math, English, verbal, quantitative, French. So I can just give them random. 60, 70, 55, 80.
How many subjects?
Any amount of subjects you want. Are we done? Though we've not getting to there, but some of us that we are entering the that one after the other. There's a way we can get. So while we are dealing with random variable in this sense, there's a way you can quickly do it with just a single line row of data. I can come up with other data which are random number. Though we'll get to that one when we get to under the analysis section properly. That one will refer to as sampling, but we are coming back to that one later. That's what I just used for this one. So let's quickly calculate some of the crucial things. We have the total. Probably you are calculating the minimum. Okay, let's work with what our brother said, which is the average, the grade. You have the minimum. Okay, let's have the minimum based on subject, not based on individual. Minimum, maximum, like that. So now for total, we know that the word total is what? Sum. The word minus is what? Subtract. The word and what else do we have? Times. What is it called? And let's quickly do that one of sum. Just press equals to sum. When you click sum like this, you will see sum that is already coming out. Select the sum and select all the column for that first candidate. In my own case, Jide, select all the column, meaning F20. This is F28. What happen?
Lost.
Under the sum section, under the total,
Okay.
Are you going to press sum before selecting?
press the sum first. It will come up equals to sum. Press equals to sum. SUM.
Equals to. Press it.
It's not sum
No,
equals to
equals to
sum. So you should see sum coming up. So select the sum that is coming up, and after you select that one, select all the variable in that row that you want to sum together. Have you done that? Close. You might close the bracket or you press OK, but close the brackets and press enter. It should give you the sum. So instead of calculating the sum for other people, the total, just drag down the edge. Even you might not drag down, just double tap the edge. It will stop where the data ends.
So I don't get
Eh?
I don't get it.
What happened?
I don't know.
Ah,
Equals to sum.
equals to sum. Click
No,
the sum.
Windows, you have to open the bracket first.
Click that sum. Double tap on that sum. Oh yeah, go and select.
Everything.
Eh.
Maybe like mouse say that I don't get.
Or just use D3 ratio I24.
Select the first one. You can also use shift to move. Select the first one.
No, you are not giving space because
D3
you
ratio.
don't give space.
So let's go for the average. So average now is just equals to same way. Average.
Equals to. If
Just if you type average or you start see average already showing up for you, equals to average. So double click on that average and select all your element again and press enter.
everything.
And you not select total now. There's no total in your data. So do the same thing for it and duplicate it down. Grade may not be assigned in this portion because grade you calibrate it based on A to be 90, 70, B to be something. So we might not be using the grade. But we might assign them position though, based on the highest and the minimum.
Wait, so why is this one average for me like this? It's not average.
It's normal, that's average.
So another thing that we can do to this is that we can see that question is having some lengthy decimal points. So that now comes to the fact of where I told you under your home, where you can come to this what is it called? Under this section, number format,
Number
and you can go under more number format. On your Excel, you will see on your own window, you can click on this arrow. That arrow that is showing beside number. This arrow that is showing it. You can see that it's coming up. Hope you see the arrow that is this arrow here. So you can now go to number and select the decimal to be 2 decimal places. So if you press OK, everything will be in 2 decimal places. Are we on the same page?
Yes.
No, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Let's use our total to know our minimum and our maximum. So let's use all those cost and total to find that. So beside in front of minimum that you put on the row side, just type equals to min mn min. So the minimum here is this. Let's just put it around.
Which one should I?
Maybe you've select the score
Yeah.
from the first person to the last person,
Okay.
and at the edge just double tap on it. It will go. Click on the 40 and double tap the edge. You don't need to be moving around, just double tap the edge. Only brother is move it if that is what your. Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir.
So same thing to maximum, but this time around it to be equals to max max.
This one is equals to min.
And you can select the number.
Ah.
So with that we've calculated the maximum also, right?
Yes, sir.
What do you do for the
Eh?
You want to
So from the maximum per subject, the lecturer and the teacher can predict who does the highest and to know the lowest from the class based on the subject. And in overall also, we are saying that the distance between the first position and the let's calculate the distance from the highest to the lowest. That is maximum minus minimum. So that will be equals to select the first maximum. We are using the average. No, sorry. Let's use the average and the total. So you can start from the total equals to the maximum total minus the minimum total. And you can transfer that one to your average.
How do you do it?
You understand what I'm saying?
I don't understand
We are calculating
the
maximum minus minimum for the total. So click on type my equals to
Yes.
equals to inside the box under
Because
and click on the first maximum cell for total. That is minimum you are selecting. The maximum is beneath. Price minus the minimum, select the minimum, enter. So you can transfer it to average. Are we on the same page?
yes.
So what function do we still try more? Let's check under formula and see some of the functions that we might quickly relate to it. Okay, you can count the number of data that you have over there also, but let's check this more function. You have a lot of them depending on what you want to do. But I think those ones are the crucial ones that I want to do for now. That's why I stopped it there because of our time. Let's stop those ones there and let's dive into other section. But I think we understood that. Okay. So let's go under data. So under data, we have some option that you can relate with it. You can get data from, probably you want to import your data from outside, from database, from HTML, blah blah. But I rarely use it because I know I can quickly import my data from the version that I'm very conversant with, which is CSV and my Excel format. So by direct import. However, most crucial thing that we'll be dealing with over here is on data validation as time goes on, and what if analysis. Well, this what if analysis I majorly used to use this in finance analysis. We have table value under data. This what if analysis is used to make forecast. Forecast means that way you are predicting what might happen. If probably, for example, what they are doing with what if is what if we have the data to be this, what will be the result? So most time I used to relate with this table, data table, which can be one way or two way. But now, for your own level, we are not going there now. I use it for one decision analysis statistics that I did recently, but we'll get there as time goes on. Let's just focus. I'm just allowing you to see what this. So most of this scenario data table is used to make forecast prediction for what might happen later on. Are you hungry? Go and eat. Okay, so let's dive into the next place. So that is that about what if. Another thing I will be dealing with is under this analysis tools. Is it there on your own system?
Data analysis to use
Group or group. Subtotal.
analysis to the
It's not your system.
Not there.
Okay, let's quickly do that. If it's not there, let me quickly use that one to explain.
Which one?
Okay, for you guys that are watching this clip, I will look for a window to explain how you can add the it on window. You can check on the page later. However, for the analysis, in case you've installed that one, and that is what I showed you last time on how we can get some of the analysis done. All the descriptive, the correlation, regression, analysis, and the likes on the whatever. So for now, the data that we just presented now, let's try to do descriptive analysis of it. All this one that we presented. And most of what if we return with the descriptive analysis is what we've already calculated. Some of it that we've already calculated there, like the minimum, the maximum, the average that we calculated there. That's part of what it will return. So in that regard, so just go to that your data analysis and look for descriptive analysis there. Descriptive statistics.
Yeah.
So press OK.
I'm lost.
Find yourself.
Find yourself.
This side.
Close
Okay,
the
you
door.
want to
Okay.
Did not do it.
And then I'll put the 2016.
So go back under your data.
The 2016 or la fin install tu install la part.
Oh,
Data
laptop,
analysis.
my store is equal. So system, my store.
Eh, na go finish no here na.
Laptop.
Under the input range that we have here,
Then
click on that input. Your own input range is supposed to be empty because
Yeah,
you've not
yeah,
done
yeah.
any before.
But
It's because I've done one before. That's why it's showing this number. So click on the because I've used that system before.
yeah.
So click on this cell where you want to select it.
Yes.
Even if it's showing or it's not showing, click on that place so that you now go and select only the number from the first subject that you select to the last subject for the last person. Hope you get what I'm saying.
Only the
First subject of the first person, the score, only the score. Or you might, let's put it like this, select from the subject name to the last score of the last student. Do you get what I'm saying?
No.
From the subject title,
Okay.
mathematics, all those things you put on top, to the last score of the last student. In my own case, I'm coming from mathematics to Tunde French score. Are we on the same page?
Yes.
Eh?
Yes.
Are we on the same page?
Yes. Yes.
Don't select minimum now. Select to last student. But you need, okay, you've selected all the data that it transforms now. Do you select the first two? You select this one to it also, math, English, so that it will be able to label it down. Ah, wait, I don't say you should select alone. Go and add your analysis back.
Like,
Data, the analysis. Why will not do so? You look for your descriptive analysis, okay. That is descriptive analysis, okay. So here, click this and select what we just want to select.
Selected.
So with that one, check this back for you to bring back your table. And on your own sheet, this place is supposed to be empty, label in the first row. Check it. What it implies by this one, you are telling it that way your label is in the first row, which is mathematics, English, verbal, quantitative, French in my own case.
I did not highlight the map. Okay.
You tick this label in the first row because what you identify above.
Okay.
So check the label in the first row. This. If you do not select this subject to it, you don't need to select label in the first row. But what you should expect when you want to return it that way, it will just give a random name to this, and this. It will not be giving the exact name that's supposed to be on your data set. So with that one, do you want it under the output section? Okay, another thing is your data laying in column or row? But what we did here, our data is in what? Column. So that's why we are selecting column. But if your data is on row basis, you should go for row. But in this case, our data is on column. That's why we are going for column. Another thing is on output. Where do you want it to be? Do you want it on this same sheet, or you want it on another new worksheet? So if I want it on this same sheet, what I will select is that way. I want it on output range. And on the output range, where did I want the result? I will click on this Excel box and go and select where I want the result to present. Something like this. I want the result to fill this place, and I will click on this to go back.
Okay.
Click on this. Immediately I will select the output range where you want it to be. Select another place beside the other one. Oh yeah, click on this. So what you want to show is the summary statistics. Check it. Summary statistics, and you want the confidence level, which is 75. That is 0.05, 0.95.
Yes, sir. This one.
Showing 95%.
Just check the summary. Check the confidence level.
Summary.
Confidence level for the mean. Check the summary. Check the confidence level.
I click on the summary.
And just check it. Just check it.
And so press OK. So you should be seeing for all the subjects the mean, standard error.
Yeah.
Override data. Press OK to override.
Blah, blah, blah.
Descriptive statistics, output range over, because you are still selecting the range of your output within this your stuff. Press cancel and go back. What is it? It's contained because you are selecting MUA. Why will it be MUA? Okay. M is not numeric data. That's part of what you do in plain. Cancel. Cancel. So correct that one. Put number there. So now that you have number, you can go back to the analysis. You don't need to select again. Your selection will still be there under data analysis and the likes. So are we on the same page altogether?
Yes, sir.
So that is just your descriptive analysis for your data, your mean. Instead of calculating, the advantage of this is that instead of calculating all these things one after the other, you calculate the mean separately for your data, you calculate the standard deviation, you calculate the minimum, the maximum. You can do that one. Even if you are working with big, broad data, you can quickly do your analysis with that descriptive analysis. Just give the summary of it all. Are we on the same page with that one?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, but what is the meaning of this cut you off?
So we will look for a time to explain all this one. There are some key terminologies that we use to interpret the results.
Okay.
Probably in our subsequent class, that's where we start from. But for tonight, that's where we are stopping the class.
So,
Do you have a question from that end?
yeah.
Do you have question? So for the assignment, let's quickly run the correction. Word, okay, data, word bank. So let's go to the word development data bank. Okay. So for this one, let's assume I'm considering Nigeria, for example. So I'm considering Nigeria. From the series, I want to look into how the increase in population is affecting access to electricity and how it's affecting the GDP value of that country. Meaning I'm dealing with three variables. Impact of population on access to electricity and GDP value for that country. So the first thing I will relate with is population. So I need population total. Population total. Population. I can relate with this population growth also, but I need population total. Okay, population total. So I've selected the population. So I also need access to electricity. Access to electricity. Access to electricity. Okay, access to electricity per population. I also need GDP per capita. GDP per capita. GDP per capita. GDP. GDP per capita. Okay, let's use this in US dollar. So I've gotten all the data that I want to use. Another consideration how many years have I considering the data for? I want to consider it for time, which is 20 years. So I pick 20 years. So I'm done with the data. Mine is just to click on apply to bring all the data sets in. So these are the data sets, and I will go under option for download. I will be downloading this as Excel. So the data is already downloaded. Let me check inside the folder. This is the data set. I will open the data set. So this is the data set. The data set is in horizontal axis over here. The next thing I need to do, this is just a series to show the data set I have here. Create a new data set, ready to use data. So I will select the data that I have over here. I can just click on this side and I'll write all the data. I will copy, go to the new Excel sheet and right click and click special transpose. And this is the data set. And don't forget, our data set is running from which year? This is 2003 to 2022. So with that, I can come back here, 2003 to where? So let's give it another one, 2004. So let's just select the two and double tap on the edge to label it down. So if you check this data set, this one is missing here. Except you can get this data set, I will delete this 2022 and limit my data to 2021 because I'm not seeing one of the variable over here. But if you like, you might use what we refer to as interpolation, meaning that based on the trend of what is coming from here, you can also get the data of that one. But in most cases, that will relatively be the result. But it's better to be on safer end because if you are giving us this data and you are using it in your report, you must give us a reference to where you get the data. So that when we now want to go and check where you get the data and we are not finding that year there, then that means there's a clause you have done
So
mago.
what if you have situation where you have two empty spaces? Like
That is what I'm not
2000
saying, that with that one you can run interpolation, or you leave it by deleting instead of the dash that will be there. You can leave it by making empty, but it will make your data not balanced. So it's better in most cases like that one. If I have it in between, what I used to run is interpolation, looking at the data that is running before it and after it to justify what the result will. Because if you look at the trend of this one also, like this is increasing, is increasing, is increasing, is increasing, is increasing. So there's a simplicity. If you check this one, it decreases to this place, increases towards this place, data decreases, increases, whatever. So the trend look of the closest data will help you to justify that one. But that one is not the point of discussion now. So let's delete this upper side. We already know every data that we are dealing with is Nigeria. So let's delete this. Also this. So the data set that we have here is what? Population, total, access to electricity and the likes. So here is the year. So I can give them outline. So this is my, let me insert a new cell. So I can merge this and label this as merge and label it Nigeria data from 23 to 2021.
So now what we are trying to do now is determining how the population affects the access to electricity and the GDP per capita.
So first and foremost, what I need to do here is to see the trend line of my population, trend line of my access to electricity, and that of my GDP. So what I will do for that one, this population, let me select the year, hold your control if you are using mark command, and select your population total. So we can go into insert. If you use the recommend, there should be a graph simply to that one. So this is the graph. You can see from this graph now, there is, as my over the year, population keep increasing in Nigeria from 2003 to 2021. So what I need to do this one, Nigeria, my title of this graph will be Nigeria population, that will be in brackets from 2003 to 2021. So I have to label this x-axis to let people know that this is population, why this one is here. So what I need to do to that one, if you are using window, you will see a cursor by this end that is having a plus icon that you can use. But because this is Mac, I will go under the arc chart. So I can click on axis primary horizontal, you see primary horizontal, and I also go on axis primary vertical. So over the vertical, I can click here and say population, so that anybody that is seeing this chart will be able to relate with it, that this is what the graph is all about, and this place will be here. Yeah, so that is on population. So let's check for the access to electricity also. In similar way, so just highlight that and highlight the year and command access to electricity, insert, recommend. So should we use this, or let's use this? That is on population. Same thing that we do for that. We also repeat it for this. Just for us to have. So we can see that this is getting us a fluctuating data over the year. Though there's not too much gap, but at least there's some level of fluctuation. So we can name this to let them know that it's a Nigerian access to electricity in percentage of population, while we also bring the axis primary, horizontal, vertical. So this will be year, and this one will be percentage population. That is what follows the data from. So that will be percent of population. So that one is done. So the last data set that we are using, which is the GDP by value per capita. So plot that one also. Insert. Let's use this. We can just change their color so that we'll be able to know what you are related with. So Nigeria, GDP per capita, control code, my horizontal, compare vertical. So yeah, sorry. Vertical. So okay. And these are so this will be currency in US dollar. So let's just say US dollar. Let's say GDP per capita in US dollar. So these are our graphs showing our trend. You might even put it in front of you, Nigeria population trend. Abi trend of Nigeria, whatever English you want to use. All of you that use English. Trend of Nigeria, whatever. So that is the first part of the assignment. The second part is now to look into the descriptive analysis based on what we have here. Because descriptive analysis is just to go under your data analysis. If you have not put that one there, you can check into how to insert that. I think I've explained that one previously. So you can go for descriptive analysis, statistics. Okay. So for the input range, you can come and select that data set that you have over here. You might select here, but it's not majorly necessary because you know what you will get for the year already. So our output range, because I want it on this same Excel sheet, we have it in column. We have the data set in column. So we label the first row as first row to be labeled. So our output range will be on the same Excel. That's what I'm selecting there. So I want the output results to be somewhere around there. Okay. So and from here, somebody returned the data analysis at the time that the description analysis. You said you deleted it. Well, at least if you did not select anything, it will first prompt that you should select something. Because if you press OK to add to it, well, what you majorly need is under this summary statistics. At some time you might look into the confidence level, but not that fully, depending on what you want to do your analysis on. So let's press OK. So these are our results. So immediately you get this, you have a fixed decimal point that you relate with. Yours is just to highlight those cells and go under your home and go under your number here. So under this your number, more number format, you can limit under number, you can limit the decimal point. So it will be limited to that restricted one. But that one does not matter in this case. So the next thing I expect you guys to do over here is to bring all this title on where the number is, something like this. Just cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, and delete many mean and kene that is here. Just delete all this one. So that I have all the data set together, something like this. This population growth, and I can select this. So this is my descriptive analysis. Descriptive statistics of Nigeria data from 2003 to 2021. And the second part of it now is correlation analysis. So what is correlation analysis? So we are looking into how those parameters correlate with each other. So that one does not even really depend on where we should state which one is dependent and which one is independent. So it's just for us to see the correlation between all of them. So data analysis, correlation, and input range all again. So now there's anything involved in year, except we want to be seeing how the year correlates with. So we can say is in column, the first row is label, the output we want it somewhere around here. We want the output on the there. So we want the output somewhere around here. So we can click OK. So these are correlation results. I'll put it over here. O match correlation analysis of Nigeria population. Okay, don't let us put it keyboard between 2003 to 2021. And if I think I've also explained the regression analysis, but I did not ask that on your assignment. So that one is data regression analysis. That is regression analysis. This is where the dependent and independent variable is so small. Because here now we want to see how population is affecting access to electricity and is also affecting GDP per capita. So meaning our population now will be our X range, meaning our independent variable. While the access to electricity that we want to look into will be our dependent variable. But in this way, we have linear dependent regression and we have multiple regression and analysis. But this way around, let's do it in linear, seeing how population is affecting access to electricity and see how population is also affecting GDP. Then I'm still finding a way around this on Excel, but I think from y-axis we can only select a single variable. Let me select two so that we'll see what I want to say. So assuming for that y now, we are selecting these two. I mean, that's what we want to compare. We want to make this a separate y, this one separate y. The last one I did it's not giving it a voice. Let's make it in a new sheet and label it regression analysis. Regression analysis. Okay. Our label. So we want the confidence level to be 0.05. Okay. It should return an error, meaning the input range must be a single row or a column. So definitely it's calibrated in a linear regression analysis. So I have to, under this space, I have to separate I first select the access to electricity and come back. Regression analysis of access to electricity. Yeah. Okay. The word is too long. Okay. So this is the regression analysis for population to access to electricity. So let me replace this one. REG access to LA. So I can go back to the data set and also run for the second aspect. Regression analysis. Okay. So this one, I'll only be changing this to GDP per capita. And I can change this to, let me just put REG GDP. And I'll create another one. So this here. So if you check something that we have over here, you can see that this one is telling us that population is not affecting the GDP per capita based on this result, because if it's significant over here is supposed to be less than the 0.05, but this here is showing that is greater than 0.05.
So is this where we have the null hypothesis and
So your decision of your
alternate?
result now will not be probably supporting, because some of the research question will have put the hypothesis that the null hypothesis that way this is not affecting this. For example, your null hypothesis may be that way your population is not affecting. So if with this result that we are seeing from here now, definitely your null hypothesis is true. But in case that we will now have, let's check the second one. You can see this one now. This one is lower than 0.05. So you can say that the population is affecting access to electricity, because this is less than 0.05, which is the significant level that we are considering. But for the GDP now, it's not less than. Though you have other parameters that you can use to interpret, I'm just using the key one, which is the significant level of that one, to explain the one. And you can see even from the p-value, look at the p-value here, we are having a 0.68, which is high, and when you check for that access to electricity, we are getting 0.02, which is lower than that one. So we can deduce now that the population is affecting what? Is affecting the access to electricity, and is not affecting that of GDP per capita. Are we on good page? But for in supporting of that one, if you are now discussing also, if you go and check on data ready to use for the correlation aspect, you can see that the population, let's check it, this is the population in correlation to, okay, let's check it over here. This population total in correlation to access to electricity, you can see that is high. Let me mark it with red. You can see that is high over here. Let's change this to white. Is high over here, and it is positive correlated, meaning that the more population is increasing, the way is also affecting. Okay, let's use the population growth. The way population growth is increasing, the way it affects electricity, but now is in negative way. It's in negative way in the sense that increase in population will definitely decrease the access to electricity. And same thing if you see from this particular one, the population, you can see the population growth here. Look at the GDP per capita. You can see that this is negative and it's still very low. This is 0.09. That is the reason why it's not affecting over here. I don't know how you relate to what I'm saying. Okay, it's GDP growth that we even use. You can see that GDP growth here is not relating with GDP. Population growth, sorry, is not significant to GDP per capita, because this is not less than 0.05. For this one to be significant, it must be less than where's less than is zero, it must be less than 0.05. But if you check this is far greater than 0.05. So we now said for you to now relate it also with the correlation value, you can see over here this GDP growth. See the GDP per capita. Despite the fact that it's negative, it's still what? It's still very low. And we told us that last class that we have the correlation coefficient from 0 to 0.3 to be low, 0.3 increase to 0. Probably 5 or 6 medium, while from your 6 above is high. And so from this one now you can see the population growth to access to electricity is on high side, but it's showing a negative correlation, means that increasing one will be decreasing the other one. So in this case, as population growth is increasing, which our graph have shown from here, as population is increasing, what has happened to the access to electricity is decreasing. Though basically on our graph is showing a fluctuation, but don't forget that correlation is a measure statistics that we use in looking into forecast of probability of what will happen. So what this one is summarizing to us is that way, as the population growth is increasing, the access to electricity will be decreasing. Exactly. So that is the summary of the assignment I say you should do. So let me save it and send it to your group chat.